Greetings everyone. In the previous video you would have seen me draw this, which is a woodland sprite. And it's through this creature that I was gifted this, which I've painted gray. So the staff that sprite is holding, as well as these, which are chimeras, which the sprites use as wings, also painted gray. That's for a future sort of thing. So this time, in the sketchbook, let me introduce you to another creature and let us use our imaginations just for fun. So I'm going to open up my inkwell and get out my fountain desk pen. So this time, let's introduce a Forest Pixie. I'll start by drawing the eyes just because that's the way I like to do things. Now, pixies are kind of mysterious and mischievous. But they have a tendency to be, well, let's just say, mostly solitary. Let's move this up a little bit, see if that'll focus just enough for us. And in a lot of ways, they can be kind of fun. I would say not likely to be really malevolent, but if they need to, they would probably cause some damage if they don't want you in a certain place. Of course, there's lots of folklore that people would say is already kind of established about them. Some parts of the world they might call them, as part of the wee folk. And we have here a pixie with kind of a strange little smile. Put in some funny little eyebrows. And let's just say that depending on where you might run into a pixie, they might look a little bit different. Let's say that some of the characteristics would be these larger kind of ears. Kind of like that. Now, pixies don't really have need for clothing. Now, it's not because of modesty. They just prefer to be covered in mud and moss and that suits them well enough. Now let's see, let's back this out just a little bit. Let's go to the next one. Like that. And they move completely different than Woodland Sprites. Just putting in the shoulders. The little arms. Here's some more information for your imagination. They are, in the way that we would describe them, I suppose, it would also be carnivorous, or at least more omnivore-like. But they don't hunt for the meat they eat. They instead would find things that have already expired. And they do this to help keep, well, the forest kind of clean. So they don't waste that energy that meat would have. They don't want to see it go to waste, so they use it for energy. They also have a curve to their spines. Now, for many of us, I suppose, we might call that a version of like a scoliosis of sorts. Let's actually have that. No. I have an idea. Let's say generally their frame or their bodies look rather slender unless they've eaten a big meal, which this one has. Let's see if I can change this just enough so that it is holding. I'm changing the hand just enough. So that it's holding its full belly. Got little spindly legs. But being that they're meat eaters, let's say they process food a little bit differently too. And that's sort of a thing which I guess we might refer to as ketosis. Kind of changes their body structures a little bit too. So again, we're using our imaginations here. I want you to imagine something else as I'm doing this. That, yes, they're solitary. Every once in a while, though, they might get together with other pixies. But they don't associate with woodland sprites. And there's a good reason for that. Now, our friends the Pixies, let's say, oh, dip my pen here. Were at one time sprites themselves. In fact, let's say that they are the elder versions of sprites. And as they get older, internally, so inside their own heads, they sort of start to feel a change. And they become a little more antisocial. Which means that they like to be alone. And let us say this is the reason why pixies and sprites don't hang out with each other, and why sprites don't know that they become pixies. That's an interesting take, don't you think? So imagine they don't get to see the transition. And if you were to ever tell a sprite that this is what they become, they would laugh at you because they've never seen any one of them become one of those. And let's say pixies are very much aware of their mortality, but they are not born either by womb or by egg. They kind of just like appear. Now, I don't know if they were ever human. I don't know if they're like angel born, but they wake up one day. Again, getting back to that, the awareness of their mortality. At one point, when they stop wearing the clothing of sprites, they set aside that stuff. They were aware, let's say, that they were sprites. And sprites are often known for, let's say, having these chimeras. But when they're transitioning, they set aside their chimeras because these were amongst their favorite things, but they give up their possessions as they get older, as well as the clothing. But they'll go back and they'll revisit that clothing before their time is done. And when their time is done, they'll build themselves like a little nest, let's say, with river pebbles and moss. And on their final night, let's say it would be a very dark night, so no moonlight, they'll lay down on that bed of pebbles and moss, and that's where their final resting place would be. and they will allow the creatures of the forest to clean their bones, let's say. And their bones become part of the anchors of birds' nests. And it's that reason that a bird's nest does not blow away on a really windy day with heavy rain. Their bones are special, let's say. So that was an interesting sort of idea that I had while being outside around the trees. That Woodland Sprites and Forest Pixies are the same, just older version. That's all. Silly, I know. But wouldn't it be interesting if our friend got to wear their wings one last time? I don't know. I'm almost done here. What can I do with these eyes? Now, much like humans, when we get older, our ears continue to grow. There's this other trait that doesn't allow the sprites to think that they are related in any way. And of course, they don't wear their wings, which they don't use to fly anyway. Okay. Slight outlining. We're under 20 minutes for this doodle. I'll dip my pen once again. Make sure that our little friend is in camera position. Make sure that the accents on my writing make sense. There you are. We'll explore more at some point, a little more of this concept. So, all right, well, thanks for hanging out for a minute or so, and yeah, we'll see you again at some point in the near future. All right, ciao for now.